What's going on, everyone? On this episode, I am putting all the focus on my 1991 Mitsubishi Montero that you see right behind me. I bought this car about 2 years ago, put a couple thousand miles on it over about a year, and now I've had thoughts of driving it from New Hampshire all the way out to our family's property in northwest Montana. The first episode is going to be me running right through the thing, prepping it for its road trip. The second episode, I'm going to pick up my homie George on the way out of town, and we're going to drive 2,800 miles to Montana. It's going to be a kick-ass trip, a lot of fun. Let's go prep this thing for the road trip. All right, we're here at my place of work, EVG Performance. I come in here a couple days a week. And right now we're gonna try and get in these polyurethane bushings into the rear suspension arms. And slowly been fixing it up, and of course comes down to the last minute to do a couple things to it. Fuck. Big pain in the ass. Barely making a dent. Boom. It's all right. First one's out. She's rolling away.
See you later.
These ones are nice because they come with this collar, so you don't have to press them in. You just lube up each one and then put them in, both sides, and then you're done. Let's get some lube on these suckers. Apply a generous portion. Put a little on the inside too there. Definitely put way too much on. She's in. She's spewing. Just like that, she in. These bushings are 22 years old, so I think it's about time for an upgrade.
There she is. 2.
We are in complete thrash mode to get this thing ready in the next 2 weeks before I drive it across the country where I wanted to live, and just have a vehicle out there so whenever I visit or we visit, there's a vehicle there to use. So don't mind the garage. It's a disaster right now because, like I said, we're in thrash mode, and right now I got it up on jack stands. It's a pretty quick and dirty job that I want to do. I just want to undercoat the entire chassis with Pour 15 to, try to stop the rust. I just went around with a air gun, blowing off all of the surface rust. So much crap came off of this chassis. Pretty rough shape, especially for a Virginia car. It's only been up here in New Hampshire for 2 years. Like I said, just quick and dirty. I didn't even want to do a whiz wheel because it was just going to take more time, and hopefully the Pour 15 does its job, so let's get to it. And before we get to painting, I'm gonna lay out this tarp so I don't get paint all over the ground. Let's go. I'll show you some progress that I've made so far. Over here. If you've ever painted anything and need to, I'm not sure if you know this trick, but if you need to cover things up, aluminum foil works super well because it really conforms and holds to, whatever you're trying to cover up. You're also able to cover a larger area a lot easier. I covered up the shocks or the struts and the brake lines in the back because they're fresh copper, and I think it would look a lot nicer if they were remain copper and didn't just pour 15 over them. So today, a little bit more prepared. Went to Lowe's and got a Tuerck suit, a little paint suit, some cheap paint brushes, varying sizes so I can get into tighter areas, because the other day I only had this guy, which is pretty wide, and I really limited the areas that I could get to. Let the painting commence. That is a wrap for today. I'm covered in paint. It's everywhere. It even got all over my face again. What are you gonna do? Not even done yet either. Just finished up my day here at EVG Garage, working on the Montero. After hours, trying to do the front lower control arm bushings, and I got some tools set aside here already, so I think it's time to get to it. Only got a little bit of daylight left. First bushing is out. Now I have to sawzall out the metal sleeve. Lube these bushings up, slide them in there. So I ran out of battery last night. It's really getting dark anyway, but I just want to go over what I had to do to change these front lower control arm bushings. So first I had to back off the tension on these torsion bars. These guys right here, those basically, they put tension on the front control arm, and you can either raise or lower the front end with that. And when I got it, I cranked them up to level out the car because there was like a rake on it. The front was a lot lower than the rear, and I wanted it to be a little bit more even. So I had to back off on those and then, you know, loosen a bunch of stuff on the front end here to get the front control arm off. I had to press out the bushing, and I actually used a crank puller, like the 2 or 3 arm puller. Pushed it out, and then I had to sawzall a slit in the metal sleeve and then punch that out. And then the other bushing, I just cut off the lip, this guy, on one side and just hammered it out, and that was pretty easy. And then I got the bushings in there, and I'm actually just about done. I just got to put the torsion rod on and tighten everything up. Now I am bolting the sway bar back up, but before I do that, changing these old crappy bushings up front here. Oh, there's new ones. Oh yeah, good refresh. Old one's out, new one's in, baby. All right, so last thing I gotta do is put tension on the torsion rod. So I gotta get this long ass bolt up there. Before I do though, I'm gonna lather it up with some good old anti-seize. And then once I get it back on the ground, I will measure the ride height and then kind of fine tune these torsion rods so it sits level and even. Let's go. All right, it's back on the ground. Moved it out of the way from customer cars. Now it's back up off the ground so I can degrease the entire front end, both sides of the suspension, and gonna do my wheels so I can repaint those, and then also the factory skid plate covered in oil and grease and dirt. I'm gonna get all the fixed stuff off with cold water first, and then I'm gonna turn the heat on and then put our really strong degreaser that we use when we wash trucks, and it usually cuts right through the oil and the grime, and yeah, get it all prepped up for some more Pour 15. I already finished the rear in Pour 15, now I just want to do the front. Oh yeah, hot water, baby! Soap time, baby! It's all oil coming off, all that brown. Just melting off there. Looking clean. All right, round 3 on the Pour 15. Got my painter suit on, got the car up in the air. Now we're gonna finish the front end, the drive shaft, a couple other things. I already started on the wheels. I did the wheels and then also the front under tray. All right, now it's time to get underneath. Last time I did Pour 15, it's probably about a week ago. And I got it all over my wrists, and now it's just about gone. This time around, a little bit more prepared with some gloves that go up your wrist. So hopefully I don't get any on my face again. No more acetone. That was a bad idea. Not doing that again. Anyway, let's get to it. That's it, everyone. Hopefully I'm all done with the Pour 15. Just could not avoid getting paint on my face. All right, big day, everyone. We're back at EVG and we're doing some body work today. We got my buddy Rob here that I suckered into coming in on a Saturday. Could be up at his camp, chilling, but dragged him here. This car spent its life in Virginia and it is fairly rust-free. At least it was. It's been up here for 2 years, drove it through the winter a couple times, and now it's got a lot of surface rust. And it's got a rot hole or two on the passenger side in the back here. And I'm gonna show you, that's what we're gonna be repairing today. It's no good, no good. Stick my finger through there. So, Rob's gonna get that fixed up. Another little rust spot here. Just gonna grind that down with a wire wheel, smooth it out, and then reapply the molding, the black molding to it. And then prime it, get some paint it on, get this sucker fixed up. And then hopefully we get that stuff done and I have enough time to do some fluid changes. I got red line fluid to do front diff, rear diff, transfer case, and the transmission. And then a couple other parts too, some soft brake lines. All right, we got the rust on this door pretty much ground off all the way. And then all I want to do is just smooth out the Bondo lines a little bit more before we prime it and paint it. Not looking to do a super bang up job here. This is quick and dirty, get it one color, stop the rust. How's she looking, bud?
It's, you know, not too bad. I don't know until we open it up, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's only one way to find out.
Ah, we're golden. It's not even that bad.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was gonna be like destroyed in here, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, still some structure there.
Hell yeah. One piece at a time.
That's all. Get all that rust out of there. All right, while Rob's up there grinding away the rust and rot, I'm gonna be over here getting started on my fluid changes. And the front diff is pretty accessible while the car's on the ground. So I'm gonna do it. Let's get to it. Honestly, that fluid looked brand new. I shouldn't have even changed it, but what are you gonna do? There's no LSD in this front diff, so it just calls for 75/90. So I got some red line stuff and we're gonna pump it in. All right, front diff is done. Pretty tight on here. Now the rear differential does have an LSD in it, so I grabbed some 75/90 with LSD additive already in it. I actually put this in the front end as well. Really not gonna hurt it having an additive or an LSD in it, even though the front doesn't have an LSD in it. So anyway, we're gonna get the rear diff drained and then get some of this Redline 75/90 in it. Also, big thing, before you drain the fluid, make sure the fill plugs come loose, because you don't want to be stuck in a situation where you drain the fluid and then all of a sudden the fill plug is stuck, stripped, whatever, can't get it open. So I'm gonna make sure to crack the fill plug first and then drain it. All right, let the pumping begin. right, now we are starting on the transfer case, and I already got all the fluid drained out. Most of it's on the ground. Sorry about that, Rich. For the transfer case, it has bronze components in it. So I got some MT90, which is GL4, and it has less phosphorus in it, so it won't eat away at the yellow metal, AKA bronze. So let's get this stuff pumped in. And we are moving on to the transmission, the final fluid change. Finally. So let's get to it. I also have some GL4 MT85 red line fluid that's going in this. So let's get it drained and filled up. That took forever. Finally, front diff, rear diff, transfer case, transmission, all new fluid. It all honestly looked really good and fresh, but despite that, glad I did it, because you never know what they put in before. You never know if the rear diff actually had fluid that had LSD additive in it, and then also the GL4 in the trans and transfer case. So either way, I'm glad I did it, because now it's peace of mind. Everything's fresh. Woo!
It's the old dirty finger trick, you know?
Yep, nice little dirty finger outline there.
It's hard to measure when you got compound angles over here, so let's do the old dirty finger trick, and it gets you like 90% there.
Oh yeah, boys. Getting that rod hole fixed. All right, we're on the home stretch, y'all. Burning her in.
I can't wear a mask.
Wear a mask. Rob is a professional. Do not do this at home. I am freaking stoked. Got those rod holes patched up. I ain't even gonna do any Bondo. Just gonna throw some primer and some paint on there. All right, brake lines. Upper and lower, each corner. So I got 4 brake lines up front to do, and then 1 rear. So 5 soft lines all together. I'm gonna get these done. The one in the rear is split, the outer casing. So might as well just do them all. They're probably all 30 years old, so it's upgrade time. Got the passenger front side done. Moving on to the driver's side. I'm not gonna record it because that took way too long and you don't need to see it done again. All right, everyone, that's it for today. That's a wrap. Rob over here. Rob is the MVP for showing up on a Saturday in the hot sun to bang out some body work. Did a really, really nice job. He even Bondoed it. I was just gonna spray some primer and then get some silver paint, but he went the extra mile. Bondoed.
Homies helping homies, man.
Hit it with the DA real quick. So yeah, fluid changes, 5 new soft lines, because the rear line here, as you can see, seen better days. All right, so I'm back in my garage. It's back up in the air doing more maintenance. And past couple days, there's been a few things that have transpired. I guess the first thing is I started to hear a lifter tick in the engine. I was a little nervous, but I said, screw it. I'm gonna do a fresh oil change. So I did some Valvoline high mileage 10W30 and some Keep That Engine Alive from Lucas. This stuff is the shit. I used to run this in my Caterpillar diesel when I was trucking, and yeah, quart of this, quiet it right down. About ready to drive 2,800 miles now. So That's one thing, that's fixed. And then the other, when I was bleeding the brakes at the end of the day at EVG, the bleeder screw, it really wasn't tightening up very well. So I kind of got it taut enough where I thought it was good enough, and came home, parked it in the garage, and then the next day or 2 days later, I came into the garage to drive it around, and when I pulled it out, walked back into the garage, and there was a puddle of fluid on the ground, right around where the bleeder is, under the passenger rear wheel. So I inspected it, and sure enough, tightened a little bit more, and a whole piece of the wheel cylinder came off because it's so rotted away. So I have the wheel cylinder here, I already got it off, right here, and you can see just how rotted it really is. See? So I got 2 new wheel cylinders on order from Rock Auto, because you might as well do both sides, because I looked at the driver's side and that also looks really corroded. So those are on the way, they'll be here in a couple days, and I'll get those fixed. And then I said, well, while you're in there, you might as well do new drums, new shoes, maybe a new hardware kit. I ordered it, but we'll see. I'm honestly running pretty short on time here, so that's that. I'm gonna get those rear brakes repaired, and then I've been flushing the coolant with this stuff called Thermacure, and it removes the rust. So, by a brand called Evaporust, and it's called Thermacure Cooling System, Rust Remover, and Flush. So I put that in about 150 miles ago. And now I'm gonna start draining it. And also there's two drains on the block, the engine block on each side, that people will loosen up and drain, and I guess a lot of crud gets built up there. So they say if it's like really built up, you stick a pick in there and, you know, dislodge it and let any sediment or any buildup run out of the engine, pop the plugs back in, and put some coolant in it. But before I put coolant in it, I actually have to continue flushing the coolant system out, because I just started to drain it now, and then I closed it up. So we'll open it back up and I'll show you what is coming out of here after I put the Thermarust in. It's black, it's friggin' gnarly looking. Yeah, not looking very good. Or maybe it is looking good because now I'm draining, you know, I'm getting a lot of the crud or rust or whatever was built up in this cooling system for the past 30 years, and 32 years to be more precise, but anyway. And then I kind of keep on doing more and more research and talking myself into doing more preventative maintenance, and I went as crazy as to order a whole new radiator. So I have a aftermarket aluminum radiator coming. It's a triple pass, so it's like practically overkill. But this radiator it's a Denso, so it's probably the original brass radiator from 1991 when the car was built. So yeah, just kind of going a little overboard with this thing, but yeah, I just want to be safe. I mean, it's 2,800 miles, so I really I don't want to break down. Continue the maintenance, and hope that this thing is good to go, because I'm leaving in 6 days, Saturday morning. All right, got the driver's side engine block coolant drain plug out, and yeah, it went kind of everywhere. I guess I needed a bigger pan, as you can see. Whoops. Well, first one's out. Now we'll do the passenger side, and probably not so much coolant in there anymore, so see what happens. I was wrong. There was still plenty of coolant on that side. You live and you learn. And actually, I forgot to add, it's mostly water in that Thermocure in there currently, because I originally drained the coolant out, filled it with water, and then drained again, actually. So I think it kind of flushed most of the coolant out, but it's out, it's everywhere. It smells like burnt popcorn. Hopefully it's all good. Here are the the coolant drain plugs from the block. Came out really easy. I was actually pretty surprised. I'm gonna try and see, I'm gonna shine a light in there, hopefully be able to see enough to see if I need to put a pick in there and, you know, open up any crud that's built up right there. Passenger side seems fine. Just flushed some more water through there while the drains were out of the block, and now I'm going to reinstall them. But before I do, I'm going to use some Teflon tape to just make sure it seals that much better. All right, time to go back in. All right, block drains are back in. Now I'm gonna continue flushing it, fill it up with water, heat cycle, drain it a few more times until it's draining out clear. So see how long that takes. We are less than 24 hours away from departure on my 2,800 mile road trip to Montana from New Hampshire. And I was here last night doing a couple things, bleeding the brakes because I got the new wheel cylinders in on each side of the rear axle. And then I was moving on to other things, and then I ended up starting it up and came underneath the car to check some things out, and sure enough, there was fuel leaking. So that's a new one. I ended up just twisting it off, and now I have a hacksaw blade to make a clean cut on both ends. This morning, I went to a local auto parts store and grabbed some high pressure fuel injection hose, and I'm just gonna cut it off cleanly, each end, put the fuel injection hose on, clamp it down, it should be good. Got my hose, got these nice 240SX stainless steel fuel clamps, little hacksaw blade. All right, clean enough anyway. Fixed, no leaks. Let's go. All right, guys, that is it. I had quite the day preparing this thing for leaving tomorrow morning. Didn't even do all the work I was planning to. I was planning to pull off the muffler and patch the top of it that's completely rotted out, but I just opted not to. But I was also going to change the radiator. That's in this big box right here. Also opted not to do that. I'm just gonna bring it with, you know, just in case anything happens on the road. I went to Harbor Freight, got a bunch of tools, got a tool bag, bunch of spare parts. I am as prepared as I think I can be. So, pretty sure we're gonna be all good, even if something does happen. Also, one of the biggest things was fixing the sunroof. The old glass was fine, but the rubber seal was toast, completely dry rotted, so it allowed a lot of water to get in. And then also the frame the metal frame that adheres to the glass, and then it allows me to bolt it onto brackets that then slide on the tracks for the sunroof. Was completely rotted out, as you can see here. Completely toast. So I actually called the junkyard and went to Rhode Island, 2 hours to get it, as you can see here. Good morning, everyone. We are on our way 2 hours south to Rhode Island to get a new sunroof for the Montero. Let's go! Rain's pouring in the sunroof. All right, sunroof secured. No more rain in the vehicle. Woo! Then I got it back and put it on. So we're good to go. No more rain coming in. See you on the next episode when I'm driving across the country.